Okay, now we're going to connect the OLED display to the Raspberry Pi. So if you purchased a Cana kit and you have it together in its case, you're going to have to take it apart so you can access the GPIO pins of the Raspberry Pi. And you'll also need a key to tell you which pins are which. If we hold the Raspberry Pi with the Ethernet and the USB ports pointing down, the GPIO pins are on the right hand side, and we're going to be using these following pins. We're going to use pin 1, pin 3, pin 5, and pin 9. Okay, so the other thing that you'll need is some wire. I'm going to use wire wrap. You can also use female to female pin connectors, but I decided to do this with wire wrap. You'll need a wire wrap tool. I've already stripped 3 of the wires, but I'll show you how to strip one of the wires. So with the wire wrap tool, what you want to do is insert into the middle of the tool about 3/4 of an inch, pull down, and then you can strip off that wire. You can strip off the insulation. So we'll do it to the other end. Both sides need to have their insulation stripped. Okay. And we're going to start by making our connections to the Raspberry Pi first, and then we'll feed them through the case and connect it to the OLED screen. Okay. So let's first make our connection to pin 1, which is the 3.3 volt power. So I'm going to do that. It doesn't matter what color wire you use. I'm going to use red. And to use the wire wrap tool, on the one end, you insert the wire into the tool. And once it's inserted, then you kind of bend it so that it's at a 90-degree angle. And all you do is you just put the tool on top of the pin that you want to wrap this wire around. You push it down. You don't have to use really any pressure. And then you just twist. And as you twist, the exposed wire that you stripped the insulation from will wrap around the pin. You don't have to press down at all. Your tool, as you wind, will come up from the surface because it'll be following the wrap that's been previously wrapped on the pin. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the other 3 wires, and then we'll come back to the video in a second. Okay, now I have the 4 wires connected to the pins. Again, we have the 3.3 volt wire connected with red. We have the SDA connection, which is pin 3, that's in blue. The SCL connection, that's to pin 5. And then we're connecting the ground, which is in black, to pin 9. So if you're using the Cana kit, my recommendation then is to take these wires and feed them through if you're holding the kit like this is where the heatsink touches the CPU. To the upper right hand corner, there's a hole there, and that's for this plastic piece to go on top. But there's enough room in there that we can get the wires through. So you want to feed those wires through. And then pull them through. And then we're going to make sure that they're through, and we're going to reconnect the case. Okay. So once the board is back in position, we'll go ahead and put our screws back in. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the other ends of our wire wrap here and connect it to the OLED display. You got to make sure that you connect the correct wire to the correct pin. There's a chance that when you order these OLEDs that these pins here may not be connected. They might be kind of separate, and if they are, you're going to have to do some soldering. So that's why in the instructions I have soldering iron as optional. But if you just solder them on this side, you can get them to connect. And it depends on which one you get. The first one I got from Amazon, the pins were soldered. The second set I got, I had to solder them. To connect it, you're just going to use the wire wrap tool in the same fashion that we did before. So ground for me is on the extreme left. So I'm going to go ahead and connect ground. I'm going to take my wire wrap tool. Okay, I'm going to feed that wire through just like I did before. Pokes out a little bit there. We're going to make a 90-degree angle, and then we're going to go down onto the pin. And then we're just gonna lightly turn that wrapping tool. Again, you don't want to apply any pressure. The tool's gonna ride up away from the table as you wrap the wire around the pin. Okay, and then you just have to repeat it with the other three wires. Okay, now we're ready for the last step. In a future video, a future lesson, we are going to make a modified cover that will accept this OLED display. But for right now, for testing purposes and to get us back up, we're going to put this cover back on. We're just going to be careful not to pinch any of the wires here. Okay. Actually, this should probably come up from this side. So we'll put the cover back on. And then I'm going to take a little bit of electrical tape, and I'm just going to cover these pins up here. So just cover these pins. This is just going to be temporary. This isn't going to be anything permanent. Okay. And then what we'll do is, again, this is just going to be permanent as well. But just to keep this display in one place, we're going to just tape it to the top of the CanaKit cover. Just like that. Okay, that's it. Now we'll work on getting the software downloaded to our Ubuntu server, and we'll boot it up and see if the OLED will display our metrics. The most important metric that we're after is the IP address. That'll enable us to connect to the Raspberry Pi anytime, anywhere. Okay, we'll see you in the next video.